Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. I'm Reverend Jerry. A special welcome to everybody on Zoom also. But thank you for being here in person and for being willing to wear masks. We appreciate it. Thank you. So, it's been quite a week, hasn't it? For some of us more than others. We're just grateful that we're all here in one piece this morning. We self-evacuated. It was not clear, really, even at the end, whether we were under mandatory or just a warning. But we did the right thing. And a wonderful thing was we were able to come here and have dinner. Isn't it wonderful to be part of a spiritual community? That you have a place to go, and I hope you know that under any emergency like that. And Bill and Lita put us up for the night. So again, it was such a nice thing to just kind of forget about all that and just go somewhere and be able to have a good night's sleep and not worry. And keeping with that, we have started a list of congregants who would be willing to open up their homes in an emergency. So you can call Leslie with that information tomorrow or during the week. And we're getting, I think we have about 8 people already signed up. So again, the generosity of you is wonderful. And it strikes me that, of course, it's nerve jangling. You know, it gets your adrenaline running and all of that. But hopefully, if we can move past that, it does remind us that everything is passing. Everything is temporary. Nothing is permanent. You know, it's just like getting your hair done. The permanent only lasts for so long. It's a misnomer, yeah. And so, during these times, I tried to practice that, to be mindful that, yeah, it could be all gone in an hour or a day or a year, and it will be for me at some point, for all of us. So it's a good practice. I would encourage all of us to enter into spiritual practice, to sit, to breathe, to meditate, and to sort of see the deeper lesson in all of that. And then, of course, to come back with gratitude for all that we have, but more importantly, all that we share, all the wonderful people that are in our lives, and that we are safe and sound this morning. And at the same time, opening our minds and hearts to all those who lost homes this past week and animals. I don't believe there was loss of human life. And of course, further up in the state, we see the loss of a whole town and the grief for that community up there. So we enter into prayer certainly this morning with a lot in our minds and a lot to pray for. And we pray for rain. I invite us to just for a moment imagine the rain falling. Feel it on your skin. Imagine yourself ankle deep even. And we bring that to us. We bring that energy to us. And we pray for all those affected by both the Dixie Fire and the River Fire. We give thanks for all of the first responders, especially the firefighters. We continue to pray for all those who have asked for prayers, for Yvonne's son, Sean Bartlett, for Diane Castor-Weir's dad, Bob, and for Diane herself, for Joan Oliver, Barbara McCarthy, Christy Souza, for Dale Frank. We pray for a peaceful transition for Andy Pullman, Larry's cousin. We pray for Charlie and Will McBride, Geraldine Wood, Amy. We pray for Denise Mazzetti and family, for Angela and Greg. We pray for a family who have a very special intention for their daughter. For Tyler and his family in Portland. For Carolyn Capello, for Cynthia Robertson, Howard Ebersole, for Rhonda, for Aaron Robbins, for Paul Spoder, and then for 2 couples on the list who did lose their homes this past week in the river fire, for Terry and Kieran Brown, for Doug and Beth Thorley. For who else do you wish to pray if you would like to say their names out loud at this time? So we join in our summary prayer. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as our lives, the all-loving goodness of God and all His power. At this time, we listen to the daily word for today.
Seems so appropriate with what Reverend Jerry was just talking about, that the word today is protected. Through my oneness with God, I feel protected. Sometimes I may feel at the mercy of a changing, tumultuous world I cannot control. This is never true. Even though the chaos of the world may whirl around me, at the center of my being is a place of perfect peace and calm. Whenever I am in need of a safe refuge, I turn to God within to reach this place of tranquility and reclaim my feeling of security and protection. The sun always rises after the longest, darkest night. I remind myself of this truth and feel grateful as I allow the light of spiritual understanding to release and reclaim whatever power I may have unwillingly given to a fear-based thought. Fully in tune with the divine presence within me, I move safely and confidently through every challenging circumstance. Through my oneness with God, I feel protected. And teach.
And this morning's meditation is a little different. Today is known as the Lion's Gate. Some of you may be aware of that. I believe this goes back to maybe Vedic scriptures, Vedic times. We have a beautiful portrayal of some lions up here that Christy had made especially for today. So the lion, of course, is a real strong image of courage and power. And today, in that tradition, wherever it comes from, is really about energy coming through. We're reminded that in the oneness of it all, that the energy of God is always assisting us and guiding us and coming through for us. So the thing to sort of just know as we go through this, it's a bit wordy, but just imagine that there's like a portal up there in the heavens, and that energy is flowing in, activating your crown chakra and your third eye. And just receive new energy that is letting go of old stuff. It's just lifting it out of you, and that you're receiving new and powerful energy. And this is actually from Matt Kahn, who wrote this. So I invite you to just maybe close your eyes and be reflective. As we call forth the energetic anchoring, wisdom and support of our spirit guides, ascended masters, archangels, the enlightened elders of our ancestral lineage, our beloved relatives on the other side, our spirit animals, to hold immaculate space in each of the 4 sacred corners as we enter this special day of the Lion's Gate portal activation. In accordance with the mind of the divine, I allow the Lion's Gate to be activated, awakened, and open as I enter through this portal into a parallel time of my next highest self. In stepping through this portal, may all healings I am ready to receive be completed. May all activations I am ready to embody be activated, and may all wisdom, life direction, and inspirations in serving the glory of a life purpose I don't have to figure out ahead of time be realized, received, and revealed, in accordance with the divine mind. I allow all gifts of healing, activation, awakening, and transformation to be actualized into present moment time and anchored as my new zero-point field, allowing this brand new reality that I welcome to be accepted by my subconscious mind and encoded into the cellular memory as my new abiding state of being and reality. I accept that each aspect of this Lionsgate portal equally serves in the tipping point of humanity's ascension, as I offer every person the exact amount of connection or space to work out the complexities and vulnerabilities of their journey. If and when during this portal, or any time hereafter, I witness humanity purging emotional density while identifying with its individual or collective shadow, I can support the transformation of the old dissolving paradigm by anchoring the light of my new reality as a space holder for Earth's ascension. May I offer compassion, mercy, and kindness, whether up close or at a distance, to anyone identifying with the very shadow being purged. May I witness the pain they have buried as a chance to help bring their consciousness back into full awareness. I offer this awareness as a gift of loving service with no attachment to outcome for anyone or any situation. If and when the anchoring of light feels overwhelming, it merely acts as a sign, reminding of the perfect moments to enable and enact self-care. Knowing from the depths of my soul's wisdom, each choice to care for myself send waves of consciousness throughout the quantum field to help others in supporting their own needs, instead of judging themselves or fighting with others. In the name of bringing abiding peace to Earth, no matter how turbulent the waves of change ebb and flow, I accept the Lionsgate activation that completes the soul's contracts and cuts the cords to all I am ready to move beyond, with the utmost gratitude to every circumstance, person, or outcome that has served my evolution. Thank you, Divine, for your presence, known as the light I shine, the breath I breathe, the wisdom I receive, the guidance I follow, and the truth I speak that is always anchored in the vibration of peace, unity, abundance, wholeness, and love. I hereby accept the completion of the Lionsgate activation and allow all integrations to occur as swiftly, miraculously, and gently as it is always meant to be. May all be blessed by the Lionsgate energy, no matter how any person or group interprets the incoming energies and healings entering our Earth. So we just pause for a moment to imagine grace, energy, light flooding us in this moment. All of humanity and the planet. And so it is. Thank you, God. And at this time, we have some special music from Angela and Gabriel.
Spirit on earth.
So I hope you know that that song is true, that you are a blessing to the world. All of you certainly are a blessing to me. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about the way of mastery. And I'm just going to give a little bit of an introduction, and then we have 3 people who are going to share their experience of the way of mastery. So the story begins back in 2011, in June or July, and our neighbors stopped me next door and said, "You've got to read this book." And so they loaned me the book for the night, and I found a quiet space, sat down and started reading, and within a couple of pages I was just moved to tears, for one thing. But I knew that there was an energy to this book that was incredible, and the next day I purchased a box of 18 books, and I thought, oh well, if they don't sell, that's fine. They were gone within 3 days, and that began, probably we've sold a couple of hundred books over the years, and there are at least 2 groups that have started over on the coast from our group, and there's a group back in Illinois. So, the first meeting was on July 25th, 2011. I did a little research through the bulletins, and I found, so it's been over 10 years. And the book is a 3-part book. The first is The Way of the Heart, and the second is The Way of Transformation, and the third is The Way of Knowing. And there are 35 lessons in the book from the teachings of Yeshua ben Joseph, otherwise known as Jesus. And they were transcribed through John Mark between 1994 and 1997 in New Mexico. And A Course in Correction of Wrong Thinking is what it is. And it comes through in a voice that speaks through the words on the pages. Its presentation and availability is managed by a nonprofit called Shanti Christo, which means the peace of the anointed one. And for those of you who know Scott Wetzel, Scott is a member of the board, and the headquarters is in Sacramento now. And they provide the books and the audios. You can either get one book, it's a big book, like that, or you can get 3 smaller books of the 3 different sections. And the premise of the book is that we have dreamt a dream of what life would be like if we were separated from God. But unfortunately, we believed the dream. And so that's the big problem that we have in life, is that we have dreamt this dream that we are separate from God, and we live out our lives from that perspective. And so the book is really trying to correct that perception. And in the book, Yeshua gives teachings and practices that deprogram our minds from the belief in the craziness of this dream of separation. The teachings lead us back to then a place of unity, or at-one-ment, atonement, at-one-ment, whereby we live from our essence and the oneness of who we truly are, knowing that there is no separation, no matter what we're experiencing. And in part 1, the heart, the way of the heart, we are called home to our hearts to love. We're called to receive the love that's always available for us to heal our guilt, our shame, any kind of sense of sinfulness or brokenness. And the book presents steps in the awakening process so as to come to awaken to the mind of the Christ that is within us. That as we deprogram that thinking, we start to hear the thinking that's already embedded in our minds if we would listen. It says that the first step in awakening is to realize that nothing in our experience is caused by anything outside of us. Now, these are very challenging pieces of wisdom. People struggle with the book when they hear this for the first time. But the lesson is repeated many times, of course, and then finally people begin to let go of the resistance. And for me, that teaching was the great unraveling that the book provided me with. And for clarity, I want to say the book doesn't say we cause everything that arises in our experience, but it does say that the experience of the events in our lives is chosen by us, by our mostly unconscious reactivity. For instance, I was in an accident once. It doesn't mean that somehow I caused that accident to come into my life, but my response to the accident is totally mine. I made up the whole story about the accident right then and thereafter. And so, in other words, our perceptions create our reality and the experience of our lives and then the emotions that we experience. So in pointing that out to us, it gives us back our sanity. Because now we realize we can change our thinking. And that's the power that the book gives us. So at this time, I would like to invite three very brave souls. The first up, coming up, is Sydney Grimsby. And I know Sydney made one attempt a couple of years ago to read the book and gave up, but fortunately came back. All yours.
Hello, everyone.
You
Oh, take my mask off.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to say that when I agreed to come up and talk about Way of Mastery, I didn't know what I was taking on. Jerry said 3 minutes, and you may go 5. And so I thought, well, that's easy. I can just whip through this. So I looked at the book, and I thumbed through it. And I just, again, sat in overwhelm, because it is so full and so rich. And Jerry was commenting that I have a history of having tried this earlier. And I want to say in my early 30s, I bought the book. And the reason I bought it is I read the table of contents. And the table of contents, that's how I find a good book. I'm attracted to the title. And then I open it up and I see if it speaks to me. And it said, "The way that calls you home." And most of my life, I never quite felt like I belonged, like I fit in. I was different. And I wanted to go home. And I didn't quite know what that meant, but it caught me. Peace that flows from the alignment with the mind of God. I grew up with God, or Jesus, being up there in the beautiful stained glass window above the choir in church. Or God for me was outside in the beautiful clouds or in the mountains. I never early on felt that God was in here. I prayed to God. And through the Way of Mastery, God is here in me. And that is just amazing. It's the power of forgiveness. Forgiving, of course, myself. And I discovered in making a list of people and situations that I wanted to forgive, it all came back to forgiving myself first. And that was a very wonderful thing. Love heals all things. Let's see, the wise use of time. Goodness knows I could use that. Love or fear. And I realized that most of my life, up until the last few years actually, has been driven by fear. Insecurity, being accepted, being liked, much less being loved. And even when I was loved, and I couldn't take that in, because I hadn't accepted the Christ in me. And this book really, it just brought it all together. As Jerry said, I had tried different times to get through this book. The first one was in my 30s, the next one was in my late 40s. And each, after about 10 years, I had an experience of moving, and so you go through things and you throw out stuff you don't want to drag around with you. So I thought, well, this book just didn't do it for me. And the reason is I tried to read it alone. And it was so beautiful and so overwhelming, I didn't know how to translate that for myself. And so when I was here in Unity, I believe it was in 2018, I was attending a class with Claire, guiding it on intention. And at the end of the class, she said, oh, by the way, Reverend Jerry is going to be starting a new Way of Master class. And I almost fell out of my chair. I said, okay, I'm there, I'm in. So I signed up immediately, and I was totally hooked. It's just been a beautiful experience for me, and I've gone through it twice now, and I honestly don't feel like I've scratched the surface. There's so much more to learn. One of the things that I want to share with you is a meditation that I had. It's a 4-minute meditation, and I'm not going to take 4 minutes because I'm on the edge of my 5 minutes. I know Jerry's going to nudge me here. But a gal came to Hospice of the Foothills to give an in-service on Ayurvedic healing. And she played this beautiful, beautiful meditation, and it's by Ramdesh Kaur, and it's called Guided Meditations for Self-Love. And I just sat in a puddle of tears when I heard it, and I said, I've got to have that. So I purchased it, and I say it a lot. But I want to share it with you. I put my hand over my heart, and I say, my heart, I love you. My body, I love you. My mind, I love you. I forgive myself for any words or thoughts I have made about myself which were unkind. And I release any emotional attachment to the unkind words others have said to me. I forgive myself for anything that needs to be forgiven. I recognize my own beauty. I believe in myself and in my dreams. I am bountiful. I am beautiful. I am blissful. I am. I am at peace. I am whole. And I am loved. I rest in the light of this truth. That is pretty profound to experience that in my heart and in my whole being. And quite honestly, I know that is beautiful, and from the outside in, I can look at that and say, oh yes, I am that. And having read The Way of Mastery, I can now take that in. And that is such a wonderful thing. I love all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sydney. That piece certainly is like a summary of the book. It could be in the book. Lovely, thank you. So next up, we have Ken Cooper.
Yes, I am Ken Cooper, for those of you who don't know me. I have been a member of the Monday night class for the last 18, nearly 19 months. We started back in January of 2020 and just finished last Monday night. In this class, I have been exposed to some thought-provoking, even mind-blowing ideas in lesson after lesson, week after week. I've also gotten to know some wonderful people, even better, through our weekly Zoom encounters this past year. I think the part of the class that affected me the most were the exercises we practiced in different sections of the book. The one that really struck me was the exercise in the first part of the book where we were asked to spend 5 minutes sitting in a chair experiencing yourself as Christ. And I'd like to read just a little bit from the big blue book. Give yourself 5 minutes to practice choosing how you will experience sitting in a chair. Will you do so with a mind full of worry or a mind full of peace? A mind thinking of all the things it could be doing, or a mind marveling at how the weight of a body feels pressed against the seat of a chair? A mind that creates tension in the way the breath flows through the body, or a mind that creates ease and comfort. 5 minutes of practice sitting in a chair as an infinite creator of exactly what you are experiencing in your emotional field. Just that. You might even want to play with what it would feel like to sit in a chair as a Christ. What would that feel like? I will let you choose whether or not you would like to experience it. 5 minutes each day. Do it without fail. Be with yourself and be